Let's talk about how the hammer dulcimer is laid out or configured. Now this video is for people who know some music theory. If you don't know music theory, I'm sorry, this video is not for you. But if you do know music theory, I really think that I can explain this instrument to you faster than you might think. So the most important thing right off the top is the intervals of the instrument. So many instruments we learn, it's really easy to see real fast where the alphabetical valuation of the notes are A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Like a piano, I can see C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C scale really fast. The hammer dulcimer, it's like, okay, where's the notes? Because they all look the same. It's hard to know where stuff is. Well, what you have to do is not think primarily in terms of alphabetical valuation of notes and start thinking in terms of intervals. When you can see the intervals, you're going to see the symmetry of this instrument. So let's step on over here and take a gander. What we have on this instrument are the markers and the courses which are not marked. So as you can see throughout this instrument, there's a whole bunch of markers. Now, for now, we're only going to be focusing on these two bridges. This is just an introduction to how the hammer dulcimer is laid out. So the extended range bridges over here, let's just pretend they're not there. Let's just mark them out. We're just focusing on this. This is what's standardized tuning on hammer dulcimers. So the markers move in perfect fourths. 1, 2, 3, 4. As you can see, perfect fourths. So if you can, your circle of fourths, A, D, G, C, F, B flat, and E flat. Now, the intervals starting here is, once again, symmetrical for the instrument. So root, whole, whole, half, 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 whole, whole, half. So if I were to play it, root, whole, whole, half, whole, whole, half, whole. This A to this A is a Mixolydian scale. And that continues on throughout this whole bridge. So literally it sounds like this. Now, the right side of the treble bridge, you play here as well. It's tuned a perfect fifth above. Literally, it's a mirror of this bass bridge, but a perfect fifth above that. So and once again, it stays with the same root to whole, whole, half, whole, whole, half, whole. Now, you play on both sides of the treble bridge. Only on the left side of the bass bridge, but you play on both sides, the right and the left side of the treble bridge. Well, it's the same exact thing. This is, the left side is a perfect fifth above. So it's a giant perfect fifth. From here to here, from here to here. So that is how this instrument is configured. Now, watch this. I showed you the Mixolydian scale. Let's start on the D. Well, then where is my normal Ionian major scale? Well, look at this. Root to whole, whole, half. Now look, remember I told you this right here, when you cross over to right here, is a perfect fifth. Root, whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. So versus if I just go up. So here is my flatted 7. So that is a half step. Now, the half steps are all here. So this instrument is conveniently diatonic and inconveniently chromatic. I cannot stress that enough. It is conveniently diatonic, inconveniently chromatic. That doesn't mean that you can't use chromaticism on this instrument, because it's fully chromatic. But you have to know how to use it to make it musical for the performer to play. Let's go to the drawing board just for a little bit. What I have here is an illustration that summarizes everything we've talked about. As you can see, the squares are the markers, and I have listed the root, whole, whole, half, whole, whole, half, whole, whole, half sequence. And with this right here, really, if you use this as a reference, you can figure out every single note on the hammer dulcimer. This is the key, or your treasure map, to understanding your instrument. So the only clue that you need to know is the starting point. So the bottom right marker on the bass bridge. You need to know what that is. On my instrument, that is an A. So if we know that this is an A, we can then use logic to figure out every single note in the dulcimer. And I would encourage you to do that. Treat it like a puzzle and just think, okay, if this is an A, then I've got a whole step after that. Above it, what note is that going to be? That'd be a B. And just continue that until you're done. Now let's move on. I'm going to show you 4 of the most common modes on the hammer dulcimer. These lay out very conveniently and make a lot of sense. So the first one is your Ionian mode, or your major scale. As you can see, it just fits nicely in a box right there. It looks like a box. We call that a box scale. Next one is Mixolydian. If you start on the marker and just go vertically up all the way, that's a Mixolydian scale. I call that a ladder scale just because it looks like you're climbing a ladder. The next one is Dorian. This is also a box scale, but instead of starting on the marker, you're going to start on the course right above the marker and play a box scale, and that creates Dorian. And then Aeolian, same thing. Instead of starting on the marker, we start a course above the marker and play a ladder scale, and that creates your Aeolian, or your natural minor scale. What keys are convenient for this instrument? Well, try to stick to the sharps for the most part. C natural, of course, but then something like D, G are really good keys. If you just stick with D, G, and C, those are great keys. You can also do A. That's not a problem on the DulciForte, the big 5-octave instrument, but it's low, okay? It's going to be down in this range. So your sweet spots for composing, once again, are D, G, or C. And then obviously it can play in minors. B minor is a great key. It's a little lower. E minor is kind of a great key for it. A minor's great. D minor. Now, there are more keys that you can play in, okay? But if you're just composing for this instrument and you don't have the opportunity to consult with somebody who really knows how to play it, if you'll just stick with those keys, then you shouldn't run into any problems. All right, thank you so much. I hope this has been helpful. If there's more questions or you want to go more in depth I'd like to harvest some of those questions here, and maybe sometime in the future I can create another video to continue this explanation. Thank you so much.